Hey everybody, welcome to Studio 64. My name's David. I've been searching the interzones for some more science, space and tech news to share with you. I came across this at Live Science. Yes, now, will we ever reach Alpha Centauri, our closest neighbouring star system? Well, yeah, if there are aliens living there and anything like my next door neighbours, I don't think I'd want to go. Fascinating. I can't wait till we've got the technology so advanced that we can have arguments with our next door neighbours intergalactically, if you know what I mean. You know, like we had arguments with the neighbours next door. You throw things over the fence and you do fake pizza calls and get them delivered to their house. I wonder what the equivalent of that be, 4 light years away. So those bloody humans again, they're sending their bloody revolting pizza to our place. That's ridiculous. Lobbing, garbage, empty beer cans over the fence to, orbit to Alpha Centauri B or something. You're an idiot, David. Absolutely fascinating. Yes, now our space exploration ambitions have boldly taken humans to the moon, rovers to Mars, and spacecraft to the outer reaches of the solar system. But can humans or spacecraft ever reach Alpha Centauri, the closest star system to our planet? Now, Alpha Centauri is about 4.4 light years, roughly 25 trillion miles or 40 trillion kilometres from Earth, and is home to 3 separate stars. The closest star, Proxima Centauri, also hosts an exoplanet that scientists believe could have the conditions necessary for life. Now, as usual, I'll leave the link to the main article below the video, so you can pop in, check out the embedded links, go for a bit of a deeper dive if you want beyond the main article. Makes for an interesting read, believe me. But reaching this star system would be no small feat. Now, NASA estimates that using a space shuttle like NASA's now retired 122-foot-long, 38-metre Discovery, it would take close to 150,000 years to reach Alpha Centauri. Now, if humans could travel at the speed of light, we could reach Alpha Centauri in 4 years flat. However, the laws of physics dictate that only massless light particles called photons can reach this cosmic speed limit. So while humans will probably never reach Alpha Centauri, we will, don't worry. It's possible that spacecraft designed to go a much smaller fraction of the speed of light could reach these stars in a human lifetime. To even hope of getting a spacecraft up to top speed, scientists would need something much smaller than Discovery. Here's a quick question for all the astrophysicists out there and the theoretical physicists. As I said, I'm not a scientist myself. I just love all science. If it's 4 years, and again, I'm not a mathematician or anything like that, but if it takes 4 years at the speed of light, and we know about approaching the speed of light and time dilation and everything else, how about 3/4 of the speed of light? Am I being naive and saying, okay, so instead of taking 4 years, it might take 6 years, 7 years? That's well within one person's lifetime. You know what I mean? Like, is it possible that we could create a vehicle to do that? Everybody says, oh, don't be stupid, that's impossible. Hey, look at Australia. 6 months in a leaky boat. It was a lifetime sentence for prisoners that were sent out here in our convict days. Then it became my grandfather during the Second World War would go overseas back to, when he was fighting in the Second World War, it'll be 2 weeks on a troop ship. So down from 6 months to 2 weeks. Now we can fly overseas in 24 hours. Don't tell me that we're not going to be able to go to places like Alpha Centauri. Yeah. I mean, it says here that the laws of physics dictate only massless light particles called photons can reach the cosmic speed limit. Hey, is it possible you could turn a vehicle or biological entities such as humans into light? Could we change our form? Can we do a Star Trek and beam us up? I mean, that sounds ridiculous. I know, that's just going to the science fiction thing. But then again, so was travelling to Australia in less than 6 months, a couple of 100 years ago. Who knows what we can do in a couple of 100 years? And people say, no, speed of light's it. You can't go faster than that. I said, hey, Newtonian physics gave us some new stuff, right? Einsteinian physics built on that. What's going to be the next level of physics? As I say, I don't know much about it, but what I do know is human beings always overcome. Much smaller scale, have a look at computing. Bill Gates famously said, with a DOS when it came out, Microsoft DOS, 1 megabyte of RAM of computer memory limit. You don't have to know anything about computers to understand this. A 1024 megabyte a byte limit, right? K limit, of which 384 was broken up into keyboard, mouse, screen, right? 640 was available for computer programs. Bill Gates was famously said, who'd need more than 640K? Nowadays, we've got gigabytes. DOS couldn't go more than that one single megabyte. Not a gig, a megabyte. Then we had bubble memory, expanded memory. We're able to do swap space with 386 enhanced mode and use the hard drive to increase the amount of things we could do with a computer, and it took a temporary swap file. Still does. Don't tell me it can't be done. Don't tell me that we're not going to reach Alpha Centauri. We will, and we'll do it in not this 150,000 years. Definitely not. I'd say the first mission will probably take 10. Definitely within one person's lifetime. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on this down in the comments. Yeah. Yes. Excellent. So while humans will probably never reach Alpha Centauri, it's possible that spacecraft designed to go a much smaller fraction of the speed of light could reach these stars in a human lifetime. To even hope of getting spacecraft up to top speed, scientists will need something much smaller than Discovery. Now, Marshall Eubanks, CEO of the startup Space Initiatives Incorporated and a fellow at NASA Innovative Advanced Concepts, is researching remote methods for visiting Proxima Centauri using swarms of picometer-sized spacecraft. A picometer is 1/trillionth of a meter. Interesting. Interesting. We are in the midst of a real revolution in spaceflight and space exploration with extremely small systems, Eubanks told Live Science in an email. Now, while an individual small spacecraft would not be as capable as a larger spacecraft, such as the Voyagers, their development times are much shorter and they are relatively inexpensive. Tiny spacecraft also require less power to propel them, which could be a key advantage in increasing their speed. Now, Eubanks isn't the only one pursuing this kind of research. Breakthrough Initiatives started its Open Shot project in 2016 to combine nanometer-sized spacecraft with light sails. And in 2017, NASA began funding its own project, targeted at launching a mission to Alpha Centauri by 2069, 100 years after Apollo 11. That would be particularly interesting. As I said, I could see these tiny little spacecraft. Each of them could perform one individual, the biggest spacecraft, like your Voyager probes, obviously have multiple functions and multiple scientific experiments. These little craft could say, as I said, just as a thought, if you like, they could do one or two little experiments, different ones, each. So you'd send off a swarm of them, like drones. Think of them as drones going out into space, and each one of them could specialize. Look at military aircraft. You could send an F-16 out, but they could be designed to perform different roles, so therefore they'd have different armament on them. Think of these swarms of these little nano spacecraft with different experiments to perform different roles. Fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. Now, while small spacecraft are easy to accelerate than larger probes, traditional fuel sources are not powerful or plentiful enough to push these craft to near light speed. Instead, Philip Lubin, a professor of physics at the University of California, Santa Barbara, whose ideas for interstellar travel inspired the Starshot team, told Live Science that these spacecraft will likely rely on light instead, which would make sense. Yes, solar energy. I wonder if the nuclear would work. Particularly with a video I did the other day on the Chinese building a new type of nuclear reactor. The idea behind the principle of the whole thing, the idea behind that is relatively old. It's thorium reactor. I wonder if that's a possibility. Yeah. But it said by 2025, the Chinese will have a thorium reactor in the Gobi Desert. I wonder if that technology could be applied to this. Again, I'm not a nuclear chemist, nuclear scientist. It's just an idea. If we could modify and adapt that kind of power for these guys. Interesting. Solar energy. Now, to go fast in space, it helps to be small and have low mass. Well, that leaves me out then. As I said to Elon, I don't like this planet, and the mothership's obviously not coming to pick me up to take me back to my home world. Can you build a gigantic bloody SpaceX rocket to bloody get me out of here? I'll colonise Mars for you, mate. Yeah. Let's get me away from these alleged human beings. Dear Lord. All we do is blow each other up with childish, mindless, squabbling primitives. Yeah. Absolutely. God, you're a weirdo, David. One major benefit of light-powered propulsion is that it's massless, Lubin said. Traditional rocket fuel, in contrast, creates propulsion by transforming heavy fuel into energy by burning it, either using a solar sail, which is propelled by the sun's light, or a photonic sail, which is propelled by laser light, gives you all of the power without the weight. Now, again, not having an astrophysicist or astronomer or that sort of thing, what about between star systems? What sort of could we collect light from stars on the way and store it, perhaps? Because there are distances out there, maybe solar won't work. It's too far from the sun. So is it possible we could collect light from different suns as this was progressing? Fascinating, again. As I say, always looking to learn. Yeah. There we go, without any of the weight. So Lubin said you can think of it like throwing a ball at a piece of paper. When a ball strikes the paper, it will apply a force, causing the paper to recoil or be pushed away. Similarly, the momentum carried by light is transferred to the spacecraft, which causes it to recoil and accelerate. The system is basically a gigantic flashlight. It's a giant laser array on Earth. Lubin said, if the spacecraft are sailboats, then the laser light is the wind in their sails. I wonder if you'd use solar wind for that, or is that the same thing? Now, again, just stream of consciousness type stuff here. I'm just imagining us traveling through space and all the what do you call it, the pitfalls and the possibilities and what we could use. Fascinating. Technology to create and test these crafts, such as communications equipment small enough to fit on them, is still being developed, but there's no physical reason to believe that such a spacecraft couldn't conduct a flyby mission of Alpha Centauri, Lubin said. This is what I'm talking about. People say there's no way. Clearly, just by thinking about what we're doing here and working a way of doing it, we'll be able to achieve it. As I said, 6 months in a leaky boat to get to Australia. Thank you, Split Ends. That was a fantastic song. Bloody great Kiwi band, by the way. 6 months in a leaky boat. Then it was down to a few weeks, and then the 50s came along and we had air travel. Instead of 2 weeks, it was a few days. Now we can fly across the world in a day. What's next? We're going to be able to fly up. The planet rotates. The aircraft or spacecraft drops back down again, and we'll be in London. We'll be able to commute to a day job in London. It's fascinating, isn't it? Absolutely fascinating stuff. Yes, now this mission would behave much like the Voyager 1 and 2 probes and transmit high-resolution images of the star system back to Earth, some of which might contain our first look at Proxima Centauri's potentially habitable planet. Let's see if my mouth can cooperate with my brain. Now, while Lubin stressed that a journey to Alpha Centauri would be a long-term endeavour, Eubanks said he's confident that big advances could come this century. I think that we will reach the Alpha Centauri system with small probes launching in the decade of 2040s and thus arriving in the 2060s, Eubanks said. Significantly larger probes could be possible by the end of the century, but without unexpected breakthroughs in propulsion physics, I think that crewed missions would be a task for the next century. Absolutely fascinating. Absolutely amazing. I think it's, there's a, what's this one here? Let's have a look at this picture here. An artist's rendering of a planet with white shapes to the right. I don't know what the white shapes are, but that's interesting. Could be these little machines they're talking about. With a large flat surface for light collection. That's a possibility. And each one performing a little experiment. Each one slightly different. That's incredible. Imagine the poor people of Alpha Centauri. Oh, dear Lord. It's those bloody humans again. Can't they stay in their own backyard? They're disgusting. They're Have you heard that? You've seen their Netflix specials? We want nothing to do with them. Fascinating. Yeah, it's just incredible, isn't it? But again, I absolutely love this stuff. Here we go. Lasers could be used to propel tiny spacecraft to what Alpha Centauri scientists suggest. Absolutely amazing. Absolutely fascinating. All right, well, my name is David. Thanks for joining me for another Studio 64 Science, Space and Tech News update. I shall see you in the next one. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe. I'd greatly appreciate it. If you're up for it, drop a comment down below the video. I'd love to hear what you think. All right, take care. And as I always say, if you can't be good at it. And as I also always say,
but it would be a fascinating project.